I'm going to make this video to maybe help out some of my fellow veterans or families with service-connected disability claims. You get a service-connected disability in the military, and you can file a claim with the VA to get compensation for that disability. And the amount they give you is all decided by law. And all this was set up by Congress, so it's kind of, some of it's kind of doesn't make sense, and it's pretty complicated. Now, whether you file a claim through a VSO, Veteran Service Organization, such as the Disabled American Veterans or Veterans of Foreign Wars, something like that, or you want to file your claim yourself, which I have done that. I don't have any VSOs close enough to me to where I can access them easily. I've tried to call, nobody's ever in the office, don't answer emails, stuff like that, so I just went out on my own and filed my own claims, and I did successfully win my claims. So it can be done without a VSO. They don't like you knowing that, but it can. And some other things, areas I think this video can help you in. Say if you want to file a claim, I can show you how to do it yourself, or even if you're going through a VSO, there's some steps in here that'll help you. If you've filed a claim and you want to know what's going on, how you can find out what's going on with it, and what to expect on your disability claim, I'm going to go through some of that too. And if you've already gotten a service-connected disability and you want to know, did they rate you correctly for your disability? Is your disability more severe than what they're rating you at? This video, I think, will help you in that as well. I'll be showing you some websites and it'll be very helpful with all this information. So let's start with the first website here. This is Hebenefits.gov, va.gov, and here you can file claims, you can check status of claims, you can apply, and all this stuff. You can check your VA letters, everything you see here. Now, when you file a claim, even if you file a claim same day as you start this process, you have to file an intent to file first. Now, that intent to file can be filled out up to a year before you file that actual claim. And the good thing was filing that as soon as possible, is that holds your file date. They'll pay, if you win your claim, they'll pay you back to the date you filed that intent to file. Now, if you go past that year before you file that claim, you'll have to file it all over and you'll lose that date. So let's say filing a claim, you want as much education as you can on whatever the condition is. You want to go in there prepared, knowing what language to use, because they use some pretty strange language, the VA, and all this is set up by Congress. So we go to this site here called militarydisabilitymadeeasy.com, and you go to find your condition and say it's migraine headaches. We'll just go here, find your condition. We'll say headaches. Submit, and you'll see that is under the central nervous system. You got your list of conditions under the central nervous system. You go to migraine headaches. Here it tells you that cold 8100 is migraine headaches. And it tells you a little bit about it, you know, blood swelling, blood vessels in the brain and all this. And one thing on migraine headaches that you want to make sure that you stress on your records or in your CMP exam is prostrating. What prostrating means is that you got to stop all activity, take medication, and seek medical attention. Or like I always told them, I had to go lay down in a dark room and bury my head under a pillow for hours at a time. Now what they'll do, the way the VA law is set up for headaches, prostrating headaches, if you have one every 3 months or less, you get a 0%. If it's once every 2 months, it's a 10%. Once a month, 30%. 2 or more a month, 50%. Now, as you see, this table stops at 50% because that's as high as you can get with headaches. It doesn't matter if it's migraines or whatever. They pretty much categorize all the headaches under that one. And say if there's tables for pretty much any condition you can think of in here. So let's see if you go to hearing. We'll just type in hearing. I'm doing these because these are the ones I'm familiar with. This is the claims that I had. Ear conditions. Okay. Let's say you have, I don't see tinnitus. Hearing loss rating system. We'll go there. Now what they do, they send you to hearing test, and they base your percentage off the scores from this test, and they use these thresholds. So you'd have to have what I did, I had my test in hand, the results, and I go through here and tell what my decision was going to be. And they explain all this to you, if it's one or both ears, all this up in here. The one I want to find is tinnitus. There we go, 6220. Here's a funny one with tinnitus. Tinnitus is 10%. It doesn't matter if it's one ear, both ears, if it's loud, if it's constant, if it's part-time, it's 10%. Unless, if somebody else can hear the noise, which they do say that in here somewhere, that it's 0, because if somebody else can hear it, I don't know why it's 0, but I've never heard of anybody hearing anything ringing outside of my head. It's just in my ears. So that's kind of silly the way they do some of this stuff. So this site gives you a lot of information. It gives you all the tables that you need for whatever condition you have, how they make these decisions, and this is what they go by. So you want to have as much information on these as you can get. So this is a very good site for finding out this information, and you want to know this information before that CMP exam. You want to know it when you go see your doctor. And you won't say, if it's prostrating headache, you want that word used on as many records as you can get, especially at CMP exam. They're not supposed to use the CMP exam as the only form to either deny or approve a claim, but I've noticed that many times they do. Anyway, no matter how many records you have, because in my case I turned in all kinds of records for headaches for years into the VA. And they sent me the CMP exam, and the CMP examiner did not use the word prostrating when he filled out the form. So that got me a 0% on headaches. I was able to prove that I had the headaches were due to service connected, because I didn't have them before I went in the Navy, but I did when I came out of the Navy. so that made them service connected. So what I had to do in that case, I had to go back and, instead of filing an appeal, I got new evidence for a reconsideration. Now, lawyers and stuff will tell you, oh, there's no such thing as a reconsideration. And I've seen it all over the internet. It's not a real thing, but it does work. I can tell you from experience. I filed a reconsideration and I got 50% on my headaches with it. The thing about a reconsideration is, though, it has to be done within that first year after you get your decision, and you have to have new evidence to go with it. In my case, I used a letter from my wife, and here's where I got some bad advice from a VSO. I talked to him beforehand. I asked him his opinion. Should I file for a reconsideration with this letter? Was it enough evidence? And he said, no, she's not a doctor, so it's not going to do you any good. They won't accept it. Thankfully, I ignored his advice. I filed the reconsideration with that letter. They sent me to another CMP exam, and I got them to put down prostrating for my headaches, and I got 50% that way. So now we're going to do some VA math. Their math is not the same as ours. Let's say you have more than one service-connected disability. How do they come up with your percentage of disability? Well, I'm going to show you here how they do. They have what they call the combined rating table. So let's say you have 10% for tinnitus and 10% for hearing. 10 and 10 in most cases is 20. Well, the VA, it's 19, which is still 20% because they round up or down to the nearest number. So let's say you have 4 disabilities. You have 10% for hearing, 10% for tinnitus, 50% for PTSD, and 50% for headaches. How do they figure that? So what we'll do, we'll go with 20% plus our first 50%. 20% for hearing and 50% for the PTSD. So we go from our 20 over to 50, that equals 60 according to VA math. So that's 60%. Now, to find your final, you go from down to the 60, and we said the other one was 50%, right? So we intersect 60 with 50, that's 80%. That's the way the VA figures it. In my math, that's 120. VA math, it's 80. So let's say you wanted to get to that 100% mark. They make it difficult, off of one disability. It's easier off of one disability, actually, than it is for multiple disabilities. And I'll show you why. Okay, so you're at the 80%. Get it up here where I can see the table a little better. I can't get them both in there. We'll just count it out. Oh, there we go. 80 right there. Okay. So to get to 100 from 80, you're at 80%. You look at these numbers here. They're scores. So you got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80% before you can get that 100, because 96 rounded up is 100, and that's 80%. If you get 70%, you're only going to get 90, because 80 and 70, according to VA math, is 94. They round down to 90. So that is how VA does their math. It's fuzzy math, but that's the way it works. There is another way to get to 100. It's called unemployability. Now, what the unemployability is, let's say your headaches are at 50%, you can't hold down a job, missing work all the time, having to go home early, and employers don't like that. You lose your jobs, or you can only work part-time, or maybe you're working for a family member or a friend who's just let you work when you can or when you want to, and doesn't hold you to the same standards as the other employees, for lack of a better word. Say they can't miss so many days a week, but you can because of your disability. That can qualify you for unemployability that way. What unemployability does is, say if your headaches are at 50% and you're missing work all the time, can't hold a job, only working part-time, they can give you unemployability and boost that to 100%. You'll still be at a 50% disability, but you'll be paid at the 100% rate. I know it's a little confusing, but it's called individual unemployability. Well, thank you for watching. I hope you found some of this information useful. I want to thank all my fellow veterans for your service, and the families for support. Leave me a comment. Have any questions, I'll try to get back to you. I'll leave links to the websites. Really appreciate it. Have a great day. Bye, y'all.